Hey guys, I'm Elegant and welcome to the weekly Pokevlog. So this week, Coro came early and released surprisingly quite a lot of information about Pokemon X and Y. So we've got new Pokemon types for the legendaries, new abilities, new moves, got the professor's name, the evil team's name, got so much information. So as usual, the official Pokemon YouTube channel released a trailer, so we now have 5 trailers in total, which will all be in the sidebar, wherever it is. I think it's over there. I've done 64 of these vlogs, and I still don't remember where the sidebars go. So as I said, we have 5 new Pokemon, and I'm too lazy to learn the names, so I've got my sheet of paper here. So first of all, we have a Pancham evolution, which is going to be called Pangoro, which is going to be dark and fighting rather than just fighting like Pancham was, which was kind of needed because when you look at Pancham, you think it's a dark type, and it isn't. So I'm kind of glad its evolution is now sharing the typing with Scrafty. So there's also a new evolution line of squids. First is going to be Inky, which evolves into Malmar, and they're both going to be dark and psychic types, which is a weird combination. Brand new combination we haven't had before, so Pokemon's putting some new combos in there. And it learns the move Topsy-Turvy, which apparently reverses the stat changes. Now we don't know quite what this means, whether it's going to make like a Swords Dance do half attack, or whether it's just going to do Swords Dance back to 0, or whether it's going to just sort of undo the stat change, or reverse the stat change in making positive stats into negative stats and negative stats into positive stats. Because if it reversed just the individual stat, you might as well use Haze or whatever. And since it's sort of a squid, it wouldn't be surprising if you could use Haze, because Haze reduces all stats, stat boosts and stat drops to 0. So I kind of expect that it will sort of invert the stat changes, which is quite interesting with like superpower and things, which would be very tactical for online battling. So the next one is Swirlix, which I made a video about. It name just sounds and looks so like Skrillex. I don't know. Swirlix, Skrillex, they sound very similar. But anyway, it's a fairy type and it's going to be an X exclusive, so only in Pokemon X and not Pokemon Y. And it's like cotton candy, basically, kind of like the ice creams that we had in Pokemon Black and White. But it has an interesting ability which is also going to be very useful in Pokemon Online battling, which is called Sweet Veil, which is a brand new ability, and it prevents allies from falling asleep, so it's going to be very useful in double and triple and rotation battles. I don't know whether it's going to work in rotation battles, but I expect it would do. So its counterpart, Spritzee, is going to be exclusive to Y. It's a pink bird Pokemon, and it's also a fairy type, of course, pure fairy type and not flying. And finally, we also know that Clauncher is going to be exclusive to X, and Scrub is going to be exclusive to Y. And one final thing, that Honedge, the brand new sword Pokemon that I mentioned last week, is going to have the ability No Guard, which means all its moves have 100% accuracy, which is pretty darn good, and a lot of people have been hyping about that because it's a pretty damn good ability. So of course I mentioned that we now know the types of the 2 legendaries. So Xerneas is going to be a pure fairy type, and Yveltal is going to be a dark flying type, which is kind of expected, but also unexpected that one of the legendaries has 2 types and the other has 1, which is bizarre, and I think that's the first ever with the 2 main legendaries. It's weird, I don't know. What I would have thought is that Xerneas would be a grass type as well, or something like that, because it would suit as a grass type or even a water type, because one's kind of in the air, which corresponds to the air, and the other's on the land, which corresponds to the land, and you'd think that possibly it would have something to do with forests or land, or I don't know, because you'd think that both have like equal amounts of typing and sorts of things. And also the fact that Fairy's probably going to correspond to Dark type, because Fairy's probably going to be super effective against Dark types, which is kind of what I speculated. But Dark types are overpowered and kind of do need something to be super effective, and it would make sense if Fairy was. Therefore, the grass type would make sense on Xerneas, because and the flying type of Yveltal will be super effective against the grass, which would kind of balance out. I don't know, but anyway, their abilities are Fairy Aura and Dark Aura. And of course, Fairy Aura is for Xerneas and Dark Aura is for Yveltal, and they both power up Fairy and Dark type moves, which is kind of strange because they're going to power up the moves that are stabbed to those Pokemon, which is going to be insane because you're going to have crazy powerful moves and it's going to be kind of scary, and they're going to be very overpowered. But also, they're going to have the moves like the special main moves that are going to have the signature moves. Xerneas is going to have Geomancy, and Yveltal is going to have Oblivion Wing, which is kind of a better name than it was in Japanese, because its Japanese name for that move was Death Wing. That's Japan for you. So as I mentioned, we've got some new characters announced. First of all, we've got 2 new gym leaders announced. We don't know the types yet, but we've got some pretty interesting speculation around them. So the first one is Clermont, who kind of looks like he's an electric type gym leader, or possibly steel, because he's got like mechanical objects coming out of his back. We don't know though, don't know anything else about him. The second one, a bit more interesting. His name's Grant, and he looks like he's a dark type gym leader, which would be amazing, because so far in 5 generations of Pokemon, we've not had a single dark type gym ever. We are dark type Elite 4 members, but not a gym member. He looks like he's dark type because he's wearing all black, of course, the general traits of a dark type trainer, and also got some weird gems in his hair, so it kind of possibly be Psychic, but Psychic generally are purple. So we definitely think he could be a very big chance of him being a dark type, which would be pretty awesome. So the new professor is going to be called Professor Sycamore, following the general tree naming professor trend they have in Pokemon. Who to me just looks like Grimsley from Pokemon Black and White, Pokemon Black and White 2. And also reminds me of Snape, I don't even know why, from Harry Potter. Just what came to mind. I am imaginative. It apparently battles you throughout the game, which is a new thing for the professors, because we've never had a battle with professors before. I think there's a possibility of battling a Professor Oak sometime in some other game, but I don't know. We've never battled the professors through the game. So the new evil team is going to be called Team Flare, who looks just like a jazzed out version from the men in the Matrix. I don't know, that's just what I thought. They definitely look like just jazzed up and red versions of the Black Matrix guys. I don't know, and the purpose is for stealing money and to become rich, not to dominate the world, which is quite different because we've not had a team that wasn't trying to dominate the world before. So some new game features have been announced. The first one is called the Wonder Trade. It's a new kind of trading, which allows you to trade without knowing what you're going to get. So I can kind of imagine all the trollers trading level 1 Magikarps, which might just suck. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'd hope that is not possible. But also, there's a new in-game feature called the Holocaster, which I believe is like the X transceiver, because you can talk to in-game characters with it, but not kind of like over Wi-Fi, real people. It's an in-game sort of thing like a Pokenav. I believe it is what they're wearing on the wrists in their game arts, the main characters that you play, and possibly your rivals have them as well. So it's called this because it projects holograms of your friends and the professor and whatnot. So that's pretty cool, a new in-game feature. There's also a new in-game feature called O-Powers, which allow you to get several boosts or several additions. So basically, you can either temporarily boost your Pokemon stats, you can have a better chance of catching a single Pokemon, or you can earn more money for Pokemon battles. A little bit of a tip for Team Flare there. So it gives you several boosts, but we don't know how we get these boosts or how long they last or what their sustainability are. We do know that you can give them to people over Wi-Fi. You can also give them to in-game characters, so possibly they're going to be able to give them to you. So another new thing to do with Wi-Fi is that the GTS now has an update. So basically it lets you trade Pokemon that aren't from the regional Pokedex. So I don't quite get what this means, but I assume it's basically saying before you beat the Elite Four, when you have the regional Pokedex, you can trade with Pokemon that you haven't seen yet. Or just, what I'm kind of assuming from this is that it means that you don't have to have seen the Pokemon in game to be able to find it in the GTS, which is so annoying. It's been so annoying for so long that you have to have seen the Pokemon in game to then be able to go and trade for it. So this is going to be a big update because then you're going to be able to trade for absolutely any Pokemon you want. And you can fill up your Pokedex by going on the GTS, which is going to be really good because it's a good thing. It makes everything so much easier. So another weird update that they're going to do for Pokemon X and Y is that they're going to add ability to take screenshots of the in-game thing, so you can take pictures from in-game, which is bizarre. I don't know. I guess it's more scenic. I guess it's somewhat like in Hogwarts Soul Silver when you can take pictures with camera the photographer of your team and everything. But also, you can get milestones in the game. I don't know, kind of like Xbox games. I don't know. You get milestones, and you can post them onto social networking sites, so you can tell all your friends on Facebook that you just beat the Elite Four and you're better than them. So if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned a new Pokemon, Oroto, which was actually some sort of speculation. We didn't actually know whether it's going to be an official Pokemon, but it's been revealed that it is a Pokemon because it was in the new movie, which has just been released in the new Extreme Speed Genesect. Now, we have no official art of it yet. It's not been officially revealed by Pokemon. It's just been in the movie. I don't know why Pokemon didn't see that and decided to reveal it, but I guess to leave fans in speculation, at least fans to spread the word. But it's been spread to us, and therefore somebody has to draw an image of it, because of course people can't take pictures in the cinema, and we don't have official artwork of it yet. So it looks like this. It's sort of like an evil tree thing, I guess, possibly a grass ghost type, which would be a new combination, which would be pretty cool. And we don't really know anything else about it. Hopefully we'll get some new information on it soon. So Coro also announced that next month, so on the 12th of August, when the next month Coro is released, they're gonna have the biggest scoop of the century, which I find amusing because for a couple of reasons actually. Because I don't think before a century ago there was that much gaming news because there wasn't that many games. Also, the fact that I'm gonna have to do a heck of a lot of recording and editing, which I'm not quite looking forward to. But anyway, let's move on to the question of the week. So X and Y has brought us a whole array of new type combinations of Pokemon. So my question is, what new type combination do you want to see the most out of Pokemon X and Y? Because we've still got quite a lot of Pokemon to come. And from hearing what Coro said, that we might get them next month and we might see a whole new type combinations. Personally, I would like to see a Grass Psychic combination because Grass was always my favourite type as a child. I don't know, I loved it. Starters, I guess the Pokemon weren't, nobody really thinks that the Grass Pokemon are the best Pokemon because quite honestly they have quite a lot of weaknesses and they're not fantastic. But personally, I always had a thing for Grass types when I was younger because I always picked the Grass starters. I was like Treecko or Bulbasaur. Grass starter team. Psychic is also my new favourite type right now, Espeon and all that stuff, so kind of a combination of my history of favourite types. I think that would be cool. Also, I'd like to see what the new Fairy type brings. And since we don't know the resistances or whatnot of the Fairy type, we could have a new Dark Ghost type. So if you don't know, Dark and Ghost combination, the Spiritomb and Sableye combination of typings have no have no weaknesses at all, so nothing's super effective against them, which is fantastic. And since we don't know what type Fairy type is going to be weak or strong to, Fairy type could have a combination that's like that and doesn't have any weaknesses at all, which would be really cool. So what I want to see with Fairy type is Psychic and Fairy, because I'm kind of thinking that what I'm speculating that the Fairy type is going to be super effective or resists Dark type, and sort of has because Dark types are like kind of overpowered, and therefore it would have a few like type super effectives and weaknesses that goes well with Psychic, and therefore it will have quite a lot of resistances. And I think, to be honest, that has the best chance of being the new Dark Ghost type and having no resistances. Anyway, comment down below what you think about new combinations with Fairy type and with non-Fairy type. And I'll say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.